If we don't get around to it, we can create a parking lot and create an agenda for our next meetings. This meeting is intended to serve as an introduction to you, the regional hospitals and health systems, and those leaders in those health systems who are responsible for the provision of out-of-hospital care. Actually, it's an introduction to you, to the leaders who are responsible for the leadership of out-of-hospital care in Nassau County. I'm going to start with an apology. I have a little bit of a cold on nursing. It's not COVID, don't worry, but I'm wearing a mask anyway. We're going to introduce ourselves, our affiliations. The leadership team is going to introduce themselves, and then we'll ask everybody in the room, and then we'll ask everybody online to introduce themselves. Once we get to the online people, we're going to call you out by name based on what we see. So this way it avoids like a free-for-all and people stepping on each other. When we call on you, please provide your name with your proper pronunciation because we may get it wrong, your affiliation and role within your organization. So with that, good afternoon, seasoned greetings. I'm David Kugler. I'm an emergency physician and an EMS physician. I've been elected as the chair of the Nassau County REMAC by some of these people in here. Thank you. And its members. And I serve as the Nassau Regional EMS Medical Director. I'm dual board certified in emergency medicine and EMS. And I've been a volunteer in the Nassau County and Suffolk County EMS systems for 38 years. I'm employed by Northwell Health and work at Plainview and Syosset Hospital, as well as for the EMS division.
Thank you once again. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. My name is Chuck Mackey. I know some of you here from the council. I'm the current chairman of the Nassau Regional EMS Council for the past year, and once again, I'll be continuing on for this year. I'm a nationally registered paramedic, formerly with Nassau County Police Department as a paramedic with them for 32 years. I'm currently a part-time instructor at both the Fire Police and EMS Academy, as well as the VEB FSA Academy, teaching the EMT and paramedic programs over there. And I'm a volunteer firefighter paramedic with the Massapequa Fire Department for the past 43 years. Our goal once again today is just once again to introduce ourselves, tell you a little bit about what the Regional Council can offer to you and what you can help us to be able to achieve in the coming years. Once again, coming out of COVID, we've had a lot of challenges, which involve the hospitals as well as the EMS agencies, which we represent, as well as the public and the to the state. So thank you very much for coming. Do appreciate it, and hopefully we can answer a lot of your questions with that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dana Cordopasso. I'm a nurse by background. I'm the newly appointed nurse manager at large for Remsco. I work for Northwell. I cover 17 of the 18 emergency departments. I do all clinical operations, flow, great partners with our EMS team, and I'm excited to be here and look at our processes. Thanks.
And you chair the ED committee.
And I chair the ED committee as well. Yes.
So finally, Don Hudson, your Nassau County EMS coordinator. I also run the County EMS Academy out of Newmick. So welcome. Thank you for coming. Happy holidays. And we'll get you out of here at a reasonable time.
Great. Okay. So keep moving down and around the room.
Josh Kugler, I'm an ER physician, and I have multiple affiliations with the works at Mount Sinai, South Nassau. Also, I'm administrator for Mount Sinai system. I am the medical director for Oceanside Fire, Long Beach Fire, and as well, and I'm the city medical director. I guess I go next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Jackson. I'm one of the directors of operations for Northwell EMS. Hi, I'm Louis Calvin. I'm the director of nursing for the emergency department at Mercy Hospital. Been the ER nurse for about 15 years. In my former life, I was a New York City paramedic. I worked for St. Clair, St. Vincent's, and I worked for Stony Brook as a flight nurse.
Good.
Gary Lockwood from Mercy Hospital. Emergency management, safety, environmental services, and a few other things. I have the honor of working with most of them.
How you doing? Sanjay Shetty, I'm Vice Chairman of the Department of Emergency Medicine at Mercy Hospital, working for Progressive Emergency Physician.
Rob Ramonti, Chair of Emergency Medicine at Mercy Hospital, and Remac Policy Committee Chair. Steve Monty, Security Safety, St. Joe's, Security Director at Mercy. Also, so is the Nassau Hospital.
Steve Hansel, the new nursing director of St. Joseph's.
Robert Zankner, EMS coordinator, St. Francis Hospital, critical care EDA, and paramedic for 20 years.
David Bertai, ER doc at Mount Sinai South Nassau, EMS physician. I'm the chair of the RSI and the modernization committees for the Nassau REMAC, and I'm medical director for a number of agencies on the South Shore.
Jay Iskowitz, the chair of the emergency department at Mount Sinai South Nassau, also the medical director for Lakeview Fire Department.
Michael Fender, Executive Director of Plainview Sass Hospitals, and also a 30-year member of the Hassling Company for.
All right. Everyone to do online?
So let's go, see if we can get this to work here. Hold on one moment. All right. Dr. Berrios, would you be so kind?
Sure. Can you hear me?
We can sort of hear you. We have some audio challenges in the room.
I'll try my best to speak loudly. My name is Jessica Berrios. I am the chair of the emergency department. I'm attending in the emergency department at NUMIC. And I'm also a voting member on REMAC. And I'm happy to be here.
Dr. Booten, why don't you go ahead?
Yes, this is Anthony Booten. I am the president and CEO of Nassau University Medical Center.
Dr. Ting?
Hi, Dr. Ting. I'm the interim CMO at Nassau University Medical Center, also ED physician and one of the medical director for Nassau County Police EMS.
All right, how about Mark Vitale?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Vitale. I'm one of the EMS liaison for North Shore University Hospital.
And Mary DeMola?
Hi, I'm Mary DeMola. I'm the administrator of the emergency department of Nassau University Medical Center, as well as the EMS fire police liaison for the hospital.
Jay Knights?
Hi, I'm Jay Knights. Thank you for pronouncing it correctly. I'm one of the operations managers for Northwell EMS.
Let's see, Elaine Stevens. I see it flashing. I don't know if you're speaking, but we cannot hear you. So I'll assume Elaine Stevens is an RN from St. Francis Hospital, SFH. Say again? Nurse manager in the ED. Thank you.
Right.
And let's see, that's the extent of my screen.
There's Dr. Cruz.
So let's have.
There's a bunch of.
Hi, Donna. I can introduce myself. I'm on the call. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Gujral.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gujral, Rashmi Gujral. I'm one of the ER physicians at North Shore Manhasset. I work with Mark Vitale as the EMS liaisons and also the Associate Director of Trauma and the Disaster Committee Chair and a voting member of REMAC. Thank you.
Kono Sumino.
Thanks, Don. Good afternoon, everyone. Kono Sumino, one of the directors over at Northwell CEMS, overseeing training, quality, and Suffolk operations.
How about, I'm just going to go down the list as it's on my screen, but it keeps jumping around. Alan Kaplan.
Yeah, hey, Alan Kaplan, I'm an ED attending. I'm also the chair at Plainview and Syosset Hospitals, EDs, as well as the medical director for the Plainview Fire Department. Thank you.
And then Frederick Davis.
Hi there, my name is Dr. Davis. I'm one of the emergency medicine physicians and associate chairs at LIJ Medical Center.
Craig Smith.
Good afternoon. My name is Craig Smith. I'm a director of EMS for Northwell, and I oversee our communications center.
The absence of butchering it, Stefan.
Oh, hi. Thank you. It's Stefan Muehlbauer. I'm the chairman of the emergency department at St. Francis Hospital, working for Progressive Emergency Physicians. And I also work for Catholic Health as the associate chief medical officer at St. Francis Hospital.
And then Landon Witz.
Hi, everyone. Landon Witz. I'm the administrator of the emergency department at North Shore University Hospital.
And then Eric Cruzen.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Cruzen. I'm an ER doctor and the executive director of the emergency medicine service line at Northwell. So I oversee all of our emergency departments.
Wow, what a group. Anyone I missed?
Hey, one other person. This is Dr. John Matthew. I'm the ER director at St. Joseph Hospital and the associate CMO for Progressive Emergency Physicians.
Thank you so much, Doc. All right. We'll go back to Dr. Kugler. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Yeah. Then.
Okay, so while Don's working on that, I'm just going to say that I'm overwhelmed by the amount of participation and attendance and the depth and breadth of the people that have chose to participate today. Thank you all for giving us your time for this hour. Providing a high-level overview of Nassau County EMS is the intention of the meeting, so you understand who's bringing you the patients and what's happening. Just so that you know where we sit in terms of the regulatory status of EMS. The REMAC and the REMSCO are defined under New York State public health law. Just like the hospitals are Article 28, EMS is Article 30, and we report directly to the Commissioner of Health, who reports to the Governor of New York. We bypass all the political elected officials. We work with them, but we're not accountable to them. And the reason why they set it up this way is so that we could do our business as experts in emergency medicine and pre-hospital care without the undue influence of political stressors, put it lightly. If you want to go to the next slide real quick. What does Nassau County EMS look like? Well, that slide looked very nice, but this is what Nassau looks like. We're trying to get it better, but if you could find the center of this and the top of the chart and the bottom of the chart, you're a better person than I am. The question is, who's in charge when there's a problem? Okay, but that's what we're trying to serve or work out with improvements in technology. We're trying to use data tracking solutions. We're using ImageTrend, which is the state bridge so that the hospitals can pull down charts. The ImageTrend database is also available for real-time data tracking so that we could see, hotspots in EMS care. And they use a live data tracking tool called Biospatial. Nassau County, we also have a few other things that I'll talk about in a second, but to just address the confusion about why Nassau County is so schizophrenic in its ability to provide leadership or unidirectional leadership, we have multiple different models of care. Anybody who's a specialist in EMS or provides care in the street You can't fit Nassau County into one convenient box. We have municipal, right? That's EAB. We have hospital-based, NYU, Northwell, Mount Sinai, all provide EMS care. Volunteer fire departments, the police department, and then there's commercial ambulances, all working in the same system. All require quality oversight and all require regulatory compliance. There's 94 different agencies working in Nassau County. That's a lot of different agencies to be responsible for. Of those 94 agencies, 47 of those have dispatch centers that control the ambulances and direct them where to go. But not all those dispatch centers are connected with 911. Some are connected to a 7-digit number. Some are connected secondarily to 911. As the 911 call comes in, it gets then pushed to them. It's a hodgepodge. That's on the pre-hospital side. On the receiving side, there's 13 EMS receiving facilities in Nassau County. And the state looks at Cohen's as part of LIJ, so otherwise it would be 14. When we look, though, we also look outside Nassau and we look at Suffolk County because we have a pediatric trauma center in West Iceland and a STEMI center, OB receiving in Huntington. Where do we get our medical control? Well, it's not just one place, right? So you think, oh, we could do a coordinated care by focusing on medical control. Medical control is given through Nassau County Medical Center, through Northwell Health, and all the commercials and privates have their own medical control. So again, it goes to that chaotic picture that we showed. Nationally, there's only 4 provider levels of care. Locally, in New York State and on Nassau County is one of the biggest users. Excuse me. We have a 5th level called the EMTCC, which is a level of advanced life support provider care, but can't provide all the things a paramedic can provide. They have restrictions on medications that they use. They have certain procedures that they can't perform. And as we get to it in the end, eventually Nassau County is moving to rapid sequence intubation for the pre-hospital provider, but only paramedics can do that, not CCs. We have a pretty big region. As you can see, it's 1.4 million people on the census. That doesn't account for people that are coming in during the day to work. Doesn't account for people passing through on their way to New York City or to Suffolk County. It's the 28th most populated county in this country and the 6th in New York State. And that includes the 5 boroughs in New York City. It's a pretty big county in terms of people. We do, part of the confusion in the region, what we know is approximately 140,000 EMS runs a year, but we're not sure. Why are we not sure? Well, if we go back 2 slides, we know there's multiple dispatch centers, there's multiple agencies, multiple medical controls. We don't see every call. While we're supposed to, it's hard to do regional quality if you don't participate in the regional system. To with that, though, we do more EMS runs in Nassau County than some small countries do. Some small states even. So a very busy system that is helter-skelter. One of the things we've done over the past couple of years to try and make EMS a little bit more uniform is to provide greater information to the providers and to allow the hospitals to provide that information to the providers by creating a dashboard that allows everybody to see where we're at when they're going to transport a patient to a facility. It lets EMS providers inform the patient's family that this hospital's on diversion. Maybe we don't want to go there. And if you do want to go there, we need to get medical control authorization. Diversion is a request in Nassau County. That's a very specific policy. There's also something called redirection, which is when you haven't requested to take a break. The county has put you on a break because you're holding ambulances and we see that you're not capable of moving forward, progressing forward. And so we're going to put you on a redirection, allow you guys time to catch up.
Yeah, please. All right. Let Dr. Kugler's voice catch up. So the slide that you're looking at right now, and again, very busy slides. They're not up here for any great detail, but just to give you a sense of what we find out new every day, something about the EMS system that we may have thought we knew or didn't know. This is the number of diversion requests that come into Nassau County Medical Control per day for the 14 facilities in Nassau County. So we put this up here to illustrate what you guys feel and what we feel is, you know, not to be the Debbie Downer, but there's an evolving problem here that if we don't have a conversation about, maybe there's something we can do about it, maybe there's not, but it's only collectively and collaboratively that, you know, internally in the hospital and externally pre-hospitally, can we serve each other's needs, which is really, as Dr. Kugler said, the patient's needs. So we know that there's really no benefit to bring you more patients than you can handle. We're doing what we can, and we'll talk about that in a minute, to try and streamline that process and centralize that process. There's still agencies that don't get the information. So if your hospital is on diversion and ambulances do show up, particularly from the commercial industry, that's something we're aware of and something we're efforting towards addressing in the very, very near future. Because again, it's all about the patient. And that's why we're all in this, and that's why we're all here. So this is by time frame. So the top, the orange one there, that's 6 p.m. to midnight, the number of requests that come in per day. The gray one, that's noon to 6 p.m. The next orange one is 6 a.m. to noon. And then the bottom blue one is from midnight to 6 a.m. So again, not great information, a wealth of it, not something we're able to drill down on right yet. But I think it's fair to say that November 22 is on the right of the slide. May 22 is on the left of the slide. So you can see that certain times of the day, we're trending upwards as far as diversion. And then why that's a concern for us pre-hospitally, as I know it's a concern for you in-hospitally, for similar and sometimes different reasons, but a universal concern is more ambulances that are waiting in ERs, the less we have on the street. And thankfully, EMS in Nassau County isn't at the point where in other systems, they call it backlog, where they're holding 911 assignments. But we can, without having a crystal ball, sort of foresee that time coming. We want to be aware of it, collaborate with our hospital partners, and see what we can do to get ahead of it or prevent it if possible. But again, only together do we even stand a chance. So this is the hospital dashboard that we were telling about. It's public information, viewable to anybody on the planet, no login needed, right? It's a Google document that anyone can see. Only Nassau County Medical Control can edit. So every pre-hospital provider has this available to them. It does not replace communications with medical control, but it is a glance at what the potential hospital availability is in a given region, or in this case, countywide. It's also the first time and first place we've ever listed the specialty, quote unquote, specialty capabilities of our area hospitals, whether it be STEMI Center, PCI, whatever we want to call it, stroke and its evolving, primary, comprehensive, whatever we're supposed to call them nowadays, different levels of trauma, and so on and so on. So that link is posted on the NassauEMS.org website, right on the front page. You can put it up in your ER, you can put it up on your phones. Again, we didn't want to poke the bear and show, you know, a competitor or somebody else's private information. This is public information. And what I wanted to get at it today as the EMS end of this was, I'm going to show you mine, and I'm going to ask you to show me yours. And then maybe we can talk about what each of us is seeing. So this is what we see from our end. We want to keep the lines of communications open them even further with our hospital partners to get a sense of what's going on. The real reason I want you to see this is if your ER is getting slammed, it might be because everyone around you is on diversion. Now, rather than you calling whoever you think you can call to get that information, or us trying to reach out to all the hospitals 20, 30, 40 times a day, one-stop shop, live. This is obviously a static image, but it's a live Google document. As medical control changes it, you'll actually see them typing on it anywheres on the planet. So that's there. And again, if you have any questions, please chime in, or we can wait to the end, your preference. Yeah.
So Don had addressed that we know that you're busy. You know that we're busy. We all work on both sides of this same patient care model, right? We're all outside taking care of patients, and we're bringing our patients to the hospitals, and we're in the hospitals taking care of patients. The president has stated it's an emergency. New York City is keeping track of how long it takes for the ambulances to get back in service once they've delivered a patient to a Nassau County hospital. This outside New York City refers to all the Nassau County hospitals, believe it or not. It just very politely says outside New York City. 42 minutes is our average for New York City ambulances to get the patient. Basically, that's the wall time. The national average is about 30 minutes.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, sure. So Don put these slides together, taking all the data, so I figured I'd let him explain.
So let me,
This slide goes backwards. It goes from oldest to newest.
so we'll clear that. This is purposefully omitted. This doesn't show what hospitals they are, but each of those colored lines, which again is purposefully not meant to be stared at, don't drill down, don't think, where am I? This is to illustrate the grander problem. And then hopefully in the future, collectively, we can have those individual conversations and see what can be done, if anything, to try and temper this. But this is the by hospital from January 22 on the right, all the way to today, November 2022, or I shouldn't say today, 11/18 is the last time I pulled the data. But those are the average ER turnaround times from the time our ambulance arrives to the time they transition patient care, meaning they give report and get a signature. What's excluded from that purposefully is them making the stretcher, them washing, them going back to restock, them going to get lunch, whatever goes on, right? So this is truly as best as we can right now. And again, nothing's perfect, but it's certainly better than we ever had. This is as best a glance as we have of true patient care transition from arrival at the ER, whenever they pull in your parking lot, to they get a signature and technically you take over patient care and we're out of the picture. The big thing I want to draw your attention to is over here on the left, where right now it ranges anywhere from, well, almost only once less than 20 minutes for a single facility, upwards of 50 minutes for a given facility, and everywhere's in between. Hit the next slide. This is all of them aggregated. So this is, again, today over here on the left, November 2022. The black line is the trend line. So we see, as you guys feel and we feel, the ambulances are spending longer in the ER. And the consequence of that is not just patient care, but operationally, they're in the ER, particularly with a patient in this case, then they're not available for another call if and when we need them. So again, looking forward, trying to be a bit, less reactive and a little bit proactive here to see what, if anything, we can do with our hospital partners. So I guess I would end on that is, forgive me, but I don't know what goes on in the hospital, legalities, procedurally, who does what or anything else. So forgive my ignorance, but I'll ask the question. Is this something you track internally? Should it be something you track? Are you aware of it? Because then and only then can you or anyone else, us hopefully included, have the conversation about what we can do with it. Because, to the administrators, I will speculate that there's a cost that comes with diverting or closing a hospital for a given period. So not right, wrong, or indifferent, but if it's the reality, then let me acknowledge it so we can talk about it. Because if it's real, to deny it would be insanity. So if that's a component of this, and it brings us all to the table for the betterment of patient care, then nobody loses, the patient wins, right? Back to the doc.
So we threw this slide in. This is, the guys from Northwell EMS will recognize aim high. This was a webinar that I snapped a quick photo of one of the screens showing that hospital turnaround times have gotten much worse over the past 6 months. And that was in August 2021. But they continue to get worse, as we saw from our own data, which is limited to the data that we can only capture from PCRs that are transmitted by the agencies that are actively participating in the New York State and regional informatics system. If you're not participating in that system, we're not going to get all the data. And that's the reason why not all of our data is 100% accurate. It's accurate to the point to which we have the information. But we see the average turnaround time, not just on Long Island, but everywhere in the country, the majority is 30 to 60 minutes. We live at 30 minutes. We're doing very well compared to the nationwide average. Compared to the worldwide average, we're doing extremely well. Look at our partners to the north in Canada. Hours. In Great Britain, the ambulances queue up and park with the patient in the ambulance for a day. This system would collapse if we did that. Hence the reason why we're meeting today. We don't want to get there. We're trying to inform and educate, create a dialogue so we can let you know we're keeping track. We ask you to keep track too. So that was in 2021. In 2022, a paper was written, America's Healthcare Crisis. This is after the COVID surge. We survived one of the greatest disasters in healthcare in our careers as healthcare providers. We made bed space where there was none. We created ambulances out of staffing from other states. We got military help. We got federal assistance. That's gone because everybody's suffering now. Every health system in this country and in the world is struggling. And now we have the triple demic. We need to make sure we keep a dialogue and that we keep communication open so that you can tell us what you're doing and we can tell you what we're doing. Part of that communication is something that we've been implementing over this past year and a half. To improve communication so you know we're coming, so you can tell us what's going on in your ER, so you can see how far out we are, is EBridge. We asked every health system, every hospital to pay the same amount for the basic package for the region. And then the health systems and hospitals are customizing it for their internal needs, which is fine. The basic package was the same price for everybody. We took the base price and divided up among the 13 institutions or 13 facilities because we don't want to charge the pre-hospital providers. What every hospital is doing, all 13 hospitals are doing, they're making it so that every pre-hospital provider can have a login and communicate with that hospital at no cost to them, at no cost to the volunteer agencies. This is a very nice thing to do because you're helping that EMS provider communicate with you. And it engenders a two-way communication. So when that EMT is saying, I'm coming to you with a stroke, as the hospital provider receiving that notification, you're going to see it on your phone, you're going to acknowledge it, and you can actually communicate with that provider. Very unlike what we have now, right? Right now, the EMS provider calls a very busy medical control. The medical control operator passes that call information over to a person who all they do all day is make phone calls. They call your red phone in your ER, and you get a 5-second blurb on what's coming. You have no idea how long they'll be. You have no specific details of the mechanism of injury of the motor vehicle crash. You have no idea of the EKG appearance. You have, there's a lot of things that this will do. And if you're crowded, you can say, we'll take you. Just know there's 15 ambulances all waiting to offload patients. We didn't go on diversion yet, but you should know this. You give the provider a heads up. Give the patient a heads up, because we want to let the patient know, because that's what we're doing, is we're treating patients, whether it's in the hospital or in the street. So we're begging you to please do this. And as a region, we're implementing a deadline. The deadline in the policy wasn't set yet. But at the REMAC meeting, it's going to be set for the end of the year. Because at this point, we know it's possible, because the health system has implemented it. They've met with General Devices, they've met with EBridge, they've already begun putting the program into their system. Why can't everybody else? At the cost of one patient visit per year, you enormously improve your communications. You appear to have a better vested interest in the EMS in Nassau County. It looks well on so many faces. I'm imploring you to please get your leadership together to finally kick in and get the EBridge system. It's like a broken record, but please, this is when you engage the EBridge system, you can see on this first picture, it'll tell you how far out the units are. That's going to be a mandatory reporting tool when you use EBridge. So when the EMS crew is telling medical control we're 5 minutes out, you can see where they are. You're going to have you'll see them. They'll have GPS locators. And then when they get within a certain geofenced area of your facility, you'll know. So it gives you even more of a heads up. So you get 2 notifications on it. You get a video assessment. So if you want to do your own assessment, and it's not too crazy in the back of the ambulance and the provider can help you, you can ask them to put the patient on video or take a panoramic screenshot of the scene. And none of this information is stored on the EMS provider's phone. They use the app. The data stays within the app infrastructure. They close the app, log out, the data's gone. The only person who keeps the data is the facility that received the notification. That's part of the purchase price, is you get a data tracking computer. You could keep track of how many times you've received an ambulance, notifications, and that's all for your own quality. And the region will have a computer to also track the notifications. So it's a great tool, and it's going to work to help us with hospital diversions, hospital status, delays, notifications. This is one way we're going to improve communication between the pre-hospital and hospital partners.
And I'll jump in so we can step on the gas, because I want to be respectful of your time. If any of this is something you want to know more about than you currently do, whether you're ahead of people or behind people or right at the average, please, let's use this as an opportunity to open that line of communication, and I'll come to you, you can come to me. Maybe we can pick someplace in between with some refreshments and make nice together. But we want to get the information out there. So this will be revolutionary, sort of, to our EMS providers. It certainly should get us back to where we were, which is like Johnny and Roy back on emergency, actually talking to the ER, the nurse and the doctor that's going to be caring for this patient, our patient, 10, 15, 20 minutes from now. So if you've ever been in that ER and you get sort of this wonky radio report or a telephone call, and based on the lack of information given, we'll just wait to see what they look like when they get here. That's not what you want. That's not what we want, especially from patient care perspective, is that, oh my God moment. It's worse than they said. Bless you. Jesus, everyone up here sees. So, don't laugh. I heard some coughing in the back of the room too. That's what we're looking for. So again, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And lastly, with the RSI and tube verification, we're going to go back to something that we used to do in our region, which is having the ER doctor, when we bring in an intubated patient, verifying that upon patient arrival, that the tube was either in or out. Literally just thumbs up, thumbs down. We don't need any more information than that. And it's really to help validate our provider care and skill level, and then allowing us to implement potentially RSI and really come up to 22nd century medicine within our region. So this slide here, again, just more of a 2-minute reminder. So part of what New York State EMS has brought is into a vendor called ImageTrend. What that means to the hospital is, if your hospital has different logins to different EPCR platforms, because you get ambulances from all over the place, commercial, volunteer, fire, police, everyone under the sun, there's 17 EPCR vendors right now, electronic patient care reporting vendors allowed in our region. You don't need 17 different logins. ImageTrend is a single stop available to every hospital in our state, but we were one of the first regions to jump on board, where with a single login, you see every patient that came to you, regardless of who they were, where they came from, who generated that chart, what platform it was on. And the benefit from the physician and patient care perspective is ImageTrend reformats all the charts. They all look the same. So if you're looking for a blood glucose level for this unconscious patient, or see how much sedative I gave him to determine why he's unconscious, it's in the same place on every chart. Right, so that's a nice streamlined thing. Just to wet your whistle, throw that out there. I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that potential. Please see me after, or shoot me an email at the end. We'll unveil that to you. So now we want to hear from you guys. What, if anything, and again, today's not the beginning of the conversation. It's not the end of the conversation. It's where we are. We're in the middle here, between where we started and where we're going to end. So, and I truly mean we, you and me, in hospital and out of hospital.
It's a partnership.
Yeah. So
We're at 15 minutes. So
if you think of anything right now, or want to throw something out for today or for future meetings or conversations, like we tell all of our students, I'm sure it's the same of your kids, is if one of you is thinking it, probably more than one of you is thinking it. It's just going to say, who's going to say it? So please reach out today, reach out afterwards, and let's continue this conversation for where we can
Any
get
questions coming online?
Okay. So just to let you know that there's a lot of times you guys may be frustrated because of information flowing isn't, you put out a question to the REMAC or REMSCO and you didn't get an answer. Right now, all the work that's being done in the region that's driving the care for those 140,000 calls and those 97 agencies is at the highest level, is being overseen by the 4 of us here at this table and the 2 committees that oversee it. Everybody that does this work is volunteering, but it's become a full-time job. So if we don't get back to you immediately, it's because we're actually doing the jobs that pay the bills, or maybe we just didn't get to it yet. Or in my case, there was one time I stopped getting emails because the email server for NassauEMS.org stopped accepting emails from me. So, but there's plenty of ways to reach us all, and we encourage you to do so. Whether it's a patient care issue, which will be dealt with the REMAC, or an operational issue, which will be dealt with the REMSCO, or whomever you have a concern about, just ask, and we can refer you to the right person. Because ultimately, we want to make sure that the person who calls for help isn't waiting, gets the best care that anybody could ever get, and is brought to the most appropriate facility at the time that they need it. Any questions?
Yeah, so let me just, the slide that's up now, this is some of our thoughts of what is needed for hopefully all of us, and if we're wrong, please let us know. We can add or subtract anything up here, and this is a living list. But, we know from our trauma centers, stroke centers, particularly due to the accreditation requirements, that the need for EMS interaction and bi-directional feedback is required. And thank God it is, because how about your world, we're a little slow to respond sometimes if it's not absolutely required. And I mean, there's a guy knocking like, hey, it was due yesterday. We're a little slow to get to do things. So it's required. What I want to state about that is, so like hospital diversions, gone need to be the days where your hospital is calling X fire department or the Nassau County Police Department for a patient care concern or for follow-up. And I'll tell you why that is. Quality assurance and quality improvement. Right? How do we know if it's a provider problem? If there's a problem, right? So let's use worst case scenario, there's a problem. How do we know if it's a provider problem, a system problem, protocol problem, if no one's looking at the big picture? And I applaud you guys for reaching out and doing what you want to do, need to do for the good of patients, requirements aside. However, we want to get to a place where all of that information is sort of funneled through the region so that we can sort of be aware of, hey, that's not the first time we've heard of that. In fact, if it's happening on the North Shore, it might be happening on the South Shore. Let's look at this from a systems perspective. Maybe there's education that needs to happen. Maybe it's a protocol that's wrong. Maybe, there's a piece of equipment that's missing or outdated. That stuff does happen. So that's what we're looking for here. We talked about RSI and 2 verifications, and I'll throw this out to the group. You guys are steering as much as I'm pushing. So should we do this again? And if so, how often? I don't need the answer today, but is that up?
Just open a comment. I applaud you for, putting the State of the Union together. I think it is helpful. I think regardless of what the information is, good, bad, or otherwise, I think it's important that we share it. So, and as you alluded to, sometimes we get stuck in our own little worlds, in our hospitals, in our specific facilities, and I think we lose sight of the fact that we're all dependent on each other. I mean, the system clearly is working. If you look at the slides that you presented, the data, we're all inextricably bound. Right. So when something is happening, it's happening to everybody. You saw the pulse
up and down, yeah,
and it happens at once. So when it happens to one hospital, Nassau, while it's large in population and very diverse, it's not so geographically disparate that we don't feel the effects of each other. So having been with the REMAC for many decades, and I wanted to take on the communications tag like I wanted a hole in the head, and I want to thank my colleagues for also jumping in on it. It's clearly the future, right? It seems ridiculous that we're operating under, technologies that really we're operating without technologies. When technologies are so easy to use and readily available, and there's no skin in the game. We don't have any skin with general devices. We researched, I want to say 12 different companies over a 2-year period. And this was best of breed, so and they're willing to partner. So it seems ideal. It seems that it should be a non-option. And as I think the chair already said, there's going to be a vote as far as the time frame for implementation. So I just think it's time. We need to move on to get better. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck with, and I guess you posed it as a question. What are our concerns? My concern is at some point, the county is going to do away with diversion other than a structural failure. Because in fact, when one diverts, the neighbor hospital has to divert. We're all going to divert because we're all at critical mass.
So during COVID, at the height of COVID, I actually wrote a no diversion policy. I don't know if anybody saw it, but I think it was in 2020, beginning of 2021 or sometime around then. This region did not accept diversion requests from any facility. And there was a specific caveat saying unless your building was on fire or it would bring immediate harm to the patient that was coming to your facility, you couldn't ask for diversion because it would have caused system-wide collapse. It would have just caused a cascade. So thank you for bringing that up. And that's so important.
And that would be the last step that we ever want to take.
Right.
And so let's leave it as the last step. The question at hand is, what do we do before we have to do that? Right? Because again, all of us from patient-centric backgrounds, it stinks for everybody, including the patient, to need something and have to wait for it. And if we can, we're all resource strapped, right? We all have our challenges, innumerable challenges, sometimes it seems against us, but collaboratively is the only chance we have. So we want to arm you with the information that we're seeing, have that conversation about what maybe you're seeing, which either confirms what we think or maybe it refutes it. We need to see it, why that is. So take this back to your leadership, take this back, to your teams and see, just in the few instances we gave you today, hey, this is what these guys were talking about. Are we feeling any of that? And if the answer is no, tell us. We're wrong, we're crazy. I've been accused of both. If we're right, then we need to have a further conversation. So the question at hand is, when and what is that going to look like? Is it quarterly? Is it every year? Whatever. And again, our emails are turned on, so that's who we are. That's how to reach us. Email is probably best, unless Dr. Kugler forgets to clean out, Dr. David Kugler forgets to clean out his inbox, which we've increased his size, so that shouldn't happen anymore.
And just one other thing to add, if you are tracking diversion and you have trigger points, so say you're at almost full capacity, you have a lot of holds. If you're willing to share those triggers with us, it will be really helpful to understand what the trigger points are across the region. And maybe we can look at it systematically to say, okay, I have the same trigger as this person. How can we maybe change the process or work together to say, okay, if historically at 6 p.m. every single Monday, you're at peak volume and so is your sister site, how can we work together? Maybe I can go on diversion earlier and then this site can go on later, or whatever process we come up with. So if you have those triggers, we'd love to see them.
That's a great one. Thank you. So just two more things really quick on diversion status. One is every time that diversion board gets touched, I get an email. So if somebody goes green from red to green or green to red, I see it. So I'm basically getting 50 emails a day. So I do that not because I have to, but because I want to, because I want to see, like we did the other night, there were 4 hospitals in very close geographic proximity, all red. If there was a 5th hospital that went red, I was gonna implement a rotating diversion. I wouldn't allow it. And just for the patient safety. We all have to receive our patients anyway, regardless if we're on diversion or not. You understand that. EMS crews understand that. Your staff understands that. And no matter, unless you're on like a critical diversion because of a structural failure, we would put you on a rotating diversion. But we were very close on Friday night, I think it was Friday night, but we didn't get there. Really quick, just to wrap it up, the system is also working on a couple of other things to revamp. We're working on there's 2 parallel teams working. One is led by Dr. Newbert, and it's a co-committee of the REMAC and REMSCO leadership on how to redesign Nassau County EMS and how to rethink it, how to reshape it, how to restructure it. And parallel to that is a committee that encompasses the political leadership, the county legislature, the county fire marshal, the police ambulance bureau, the Nassau County elected fire commissioners, and the fire commission. That's one other committee that's running parallel. And they're also looking at how to revamp Nassau County so we can make one system. One of the things that we need to consider is when we're really low, we need to embrace our commercial partners, our hospital-based EMS services. I don't care who you call. At the end of the day, when the person's laying on the ground, they're not looking at their patch. They're looking at the crew that's coming to save them and bring them to a hospital. So we need to get over ourselves. And we need to get an ambulance to the person who's calling for help. And that's what we're working to do. So keep your ears to the ground. We may change this a little bit more. That's where the political issues start to come in. But we're trying. Baby steps. So, yes.
Yeah, just as Dr. Kugler said, everyone's going to don't hold you too long. Like I said, we've been more transparent. I think the last year and a half, we don't have a daytime operations administrative side right now. The people you see up here, some of the council members have stepped up. Everybody's volunteered. We have 30 council members. We have 29 that are active, attending meetings and stuff. And as I said, we're sitting on multiple committees right now. We've gotten the county involved. We've gotten the hospitals involved. We've gotten the agency managers involved. We've gotten a ton of people involved and stuff. I'm going to continue to have virtual meetings. We're going to continue to meet to fix some of these issues and stuff that we have. We know that we have issues. We've had these issues for 40, 50 years. And the last 5 or 6 years before I took over, we started moving in the right direction. But we still have a long way to go. And with your help, with the hospital's help, with the agency's help, once again, getting the data, once again, to be able to drive the committees, to see where our problems are, that is key. As you said, 94 agencies, 47 PSAP centers and stuff taking this information in, duplication of calls, all of this stuff is compounding all of the problems that we currently have here in our region. And we need to once again get a handle on that so that we can once again make it a little bit easier for the volunteers and for the EMS. And then once again, that will also drive being able to once again accommodate the hospitals and be able to work in a cohesive manner to be able to solve these problems before they become major problems and the entire system collapses. And right now we're moving in the right direction. We're hopeful that we've made some changes with the state. We're getting our feedback on firm ground. Once again, we'll hope to have sometime in the near future a program agency to run the day-to-day operations so that this doesn't go off that much. And same thing with Dr. Kugler, so that we don't have to solve these problems with that. But I do once again applaud you all for coming, whether it be virtually or in attendance. We all need to work collaboratively together in order to solve these problems.
So it's actually 3 o'clock, right on time. We're done. If you have any questions, please come. We're going to hang out for a little bit after the meeting. For those of you who came, thank you very much, both online and in person. But we look forward to seeing you again in the future. All right, guys, be safe and happy holidays to everybody and your families.
Thanks again, guys.
Yep.
Meeting adjourned.
So that's it.
Thank you.
So no questions online, which is good. I know the mic's still open up. I can show some data management language we tried throughout CAD. Next time, these can be rolled out to any and all CAD systems willing to. Yeah, Jay Knights, shoot me an email. We'll set it up afterwards. Thank you.
Not a problem.
All right, guys and girls, I'm going to mute the microphone in the room and the slideshow. You have our emails. If there's anything that you need, please reach out and let's continue the conversation. Thank you and happy holidays.
You have to stop recording before